for my voice, but I have never seen anything like it.
You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Welcome to the Oscar Recap Podcast. Thank you so much for clicking the link. I know that you have a lot of Oscar recap and, Oscar Academy Award talk podcasts to listen to. So listening to this one means a lot to me. So thank you. I brought on my friend Justus, who's a big movie buff. You can almost call him a cinephile like myself. Both of us, huge Parasite fans. I'm going to tell you a quick story before we get into it. So I was not going to go see Parasite. I was going to say, all right, I don't need to see a foreign film. I don't really need to be reading subtitles for 2.5 hours. I'll just read a recap of it, and that'll be that. But he forced me to see this movie. He shamed me into not seeing it. He's like, how are you going to say that you care about movies and you watch movies if you're not going to see this movie? So I was like, okay, I'll see it. And it was the best movie of the year by far. I wrote a review for the University Star, the #1 newspaper in San Marcos, about how this movie was great, but I didn't think it was going to win. It walks away with 4 Academy Awards. So, all that being said, here is Justus. Let's get started. On the phone line right now, we have Justus Stafford, our #1 movie critic, coming on the podcast to talk to us about the 92nd Oscars. The Academy Awards was fun from beginning to end. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing great. All right, so let's jump off right from the start. It's not even a question anymore, I think, because I want to start from the top of the show and just continue to go down. You cool with that?
That's perfect.
So, off the top, Brad Pitt wins supporting actor. I kind of saw that coming.
Deservingly. Mm-hmm.
And then Toy Story 4 won Best Animated Movie, which anytime Pixar is even in the running, I think that we should just give it to them. I don't know why we are even in this world where we think a Pixar movie won't win. It's a joke. I don't get it. They've won 16 Academy Awards to this point, Pixar has.
They definitely have a monopoly on human emotions, that's for sure.
And now they play the Up theme song during every single commercial, and it just drives me crazy.
Well, ABC is owned by Disney, so that kind of makes sense. But I was surprised that Avengers didn't win anything. I was really surprised by that.
What would they have won? Because I've heard this a couple times now.
Visual effects.
Who won instead? It was
1917.
Which, okay, let's be real here. I get the fact that they're able to CGI the Hulk, but 1917 was able to do just a one shot the entire time. That has to be counted for something, right?
Well, yeah, definitely. But the only reason I would be surprised that 1917 would lose that is because Avengers is this staple of Disney, and like I said earlier, ABC is owned by Disney. But thinking about it, I'm not too surprised because I feel like practical effects, especially nowadays, are kind of more admired than CGI is. So they're definitely going to want to award something that uses as little CGI as possible, which makes the 1917 win make perfect sense.
Well, they cut to Scorsese 1 billion times during the telecast of it, so I think that he was happy that no superhero movie got their day.
Yeah. The thing about, and the reason I think that The Irishman didn't really win anything is because it's as much as everyone loves Scorsese and as much as we can admit that The Irishman was definitely an accomplishment, it, when you watch clips of it, it looks bad. Visually, it's when you're watching the movie the first time, it's oh, this is fun. You're watching them just age in front of your eyes. But when you're watching just them play a couple of clips, it kind of looks like clay, it's just like Play-Doh. I don't know.
That's what Joe Pesci looks like in real life.
Yeah, but it's jarring. It's so jarring to me. It's not worthy of a trophy, I don't think.
Look, that was arguably, I know the Joker gets a lot of hate, but that was arguably, I think, the worst movie that got nominated for Best Picture this year. I watched it 4 times on accident, and I don't get those 12 hours of my life back.
It definitely seemed the most out of place out of all of them, but it seemed the most out of place. But to me, it was kind of fun seeing something that doesn't 100% belong there actually be there, just based solely on the fact that, I don't know, I would rather we have one thing that's not like the other than 9 things that are pretty much like in the same vein or Oscar bait, you know?
If that's
I
the
feel
take,
like
then where's Hustlers?
Okay, well, after seeing, so I watched Hustlers recently. Hustlers is not a Best Picture movie, like, period. Where I do think that Jennifer Lopez should have been nominated, though. I do think that. I feel like one of the great, and the reason the Oscars is like losing a lot of credibility is because not only do they nominate the same crop of things, like a lot of things that seem very similar to each other, but they also nominate a bunch of actors that are usually deserving, but we don't really know who they are. Like, there's nothing wrong with throwing in an actor that like everybody knows, you know? Imagine how many people would have tuned in for the Oscars this year if Jennifer Lopez and Adam Sandler were nominated.
We're going to get to Adam Sandler in a second.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But I want to talk about the movie that stole everybody's hearts this year, and that was Parasite. And you want to talk about like the social commentary of it. You could talk about just the fact that it's a foreign film winning Best Picture. There's just a lot of levels to how good this movie was. But winning 4 Oscars, winning 4 Academy Awards any year is an impressive feat. And I know we both were big fans of Parasite from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, as the night is over now, do you feel like how do we feel? Because ecstatic is too small of a word, I think, for how I'm feeling for Parasite winning.
Okay, so and I literally thought about this on the drive back home. And okay, so I'm 23 years old. I feel like I've been paying attention to the Oscars for probably a little over a decade now. So I'm going to say like 12 or 13 years. In the 13 years that I've been paying attention to it, the movie that I've wanted to win has won twice, and the second time was tonight.
What was
the first time being Moonlight. Yeah, I feel like the movie that I usually want to win does not win. So the fact that it's happened like twice within the past couple of years of each other is like pretty damn cool. And just the fact that both of those times were films made by minorities is even cooler. Like, you have Moonlight, which is a straight up all black film, all black cast and crew, and then Parasite, same thing, Korean film, all Korean cast and crew, and it's pretty cool to see an award that the makeup is entirely not something that the Academy usually awards be recognized by like straight up the whitest award show in Hollywood.
Do we want to talk about that?
Because the most important award show.
I want to get one more point in about like the diversity of it. I was thinking back to Shape of Water and how when Del Toro won, we like made this really big deal and we said this is really good. We have like directors of like minority background winning these awards. I think that this win for Parasite does even more than Shape of Water winning, don't you?
I think that it does more. Not only, I feel like it does more solely based on the fact that it also deserves to win. As much as I loved The Shape of Water, and as much as that win was important for Mexican filmmakers, I don't think that movie should have won. I don't think that movie is going to age well. And usually when you ask people what won that year, they like don't even remember. I don't think that Shape of Water should have won that year. I think Get Out should have won, but that's a different question. That's a different answer to the question that you just asked. Well, I feel that it is, but I think I did answer. I feel like this win is definitely more important because it actually deserves to win. I feel like there's no sense in a first time us cheering for a first time win, whether it be like this is the first time a certain director wins or a certain race wins or both. there's no sense cheering for that if it wasn't deserved. Like, if we think that it was just like handed to them to, to like pacify the masses. So when it's something that was like straight up deserved, like Parasite, it's definitely more important. It definitely comes off as more important, and the conversation, in time, the conversation will be more kind to that win than it will be to, say, A Shape of Water.
So I talk about, when I do these movie reviews, I talk about the rewatchability. That I need to be able to rewatch a movie, I think, for it to really make a lasting impact. That if I'm flipping through channels or I'm scrolling through a streaming site, that if I see this movie, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I need to check this out and watch like 10 to 15, 30 minutes of this movie and get where I want to go. Parasite, to me, is that rewatchable movie. Like, I think that and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood are the two movies that when we like go back, and of course Little Women for me because I love that movie, but those are the two movies that when I see them on TV or I see them on a streaming site, I'm going to flip to a certain part and watch it from that part on.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel, and this is something that I've felt for years now, I feel that a Best Picture movie, I feel like a movie should only win Best Picture if it has rewatchability. Like, there's so many great movies that I've seen that I'm never going to watch them again. And does that take away from their greatness? No, but I definitely feel so that I feel that to be a Best Picture, you need to be timeless.
That's why Green Book winning last year doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. You need to be a timeless movie that I could put you on for anybody. I could put you on for somebody who could not care less about movies. And by the time the credits roll, they'll be like, I'm glad I spent time taking that in. It should definitely it should not feel like a slog to get through, and it should not feel like it should be very accessible. It should not be something that is not. It should not be something that feels other or feels too above like the average person. That's why I love Parasite so much. I feel like it's probably the most accessible foreign movie I've ever seen ever. And I've watched like a ton of foreign movies, and I straight up feel that I could put on Parasite for anybody, and they would be like, that was a damn good movie.
I think it just goes to the masses, and just like not only like the wealth and equality, but just the horror or the thriller version of it, where I think
the comedy.
I don't even like. I will say this: that I was on the edge of my seat more than I was laughing. I don't know if you were
really?
the same way. Yeah.
Like, okay. Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially after the first half.
Yeah, I think the suspense of this movie, and I don't like to compare this movie. I don't love to compare this movie to Get Out or Sorry for Bothering You, but I feel like it's in that same vein of like, okay, there's something. There are funny parts of this movie. I think Get Out was the best version of this. Where
it definitely reminds me of Get Out. I can see that. Yeah, for sure.
Just the part where I think people come into the movie and they're laughing. There's a scene where the entire family is like I think the Park family leaves and the Kim family is just in the house getting drunk. That's a hilarious scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think
and just the scene where they start. The scenes where they start replacing the actual servants, that I feel like that's pretty hilarious too. Like the way that all works out with like the peach fuzz and just like all the minutia of them getting them out of the house. I felt that was like very comedic, or at least it was intended to be, because everybody in my theater was laughing their asses off. Can I cuss on this?
Yeah, no, of course. And okay. I love it. I love it, that the fact that they were able to flip the script so quickly. And that, of course, goes to them winning Best Screenplay and winning all these other awards. I want to get to, because this is a topic that you probably can hit on a lot better than I can. Oscar So White, this is a topic that we've had for the last...
Oh my God, okay. I was literally just about to ask about this because the fact that we're talking about Parasite, I feel like we need to ricochet this into something else. Okay, Parasite, one of the best movies of the year, literally just won Best Picture. The guy, it walked away with 4 Oscars. How does a movie like this win, yet you don't nominate a single actor in, like, a single acting category? I could literally name 4 people from that movie that would have made like would have been perfect for like all you needed was one, and I would have been fine. But all 4 of them deserve to be nominated. The actress that played the daughter, the actor that played the father, the actress that played the wealthy mother, and the actress that played the original housekeeper. All of those people deserved to get nominated, and you literally could have nominated 1, but you chose to nominate 0. Meanwhile, you nominate Scarlett Johansson twice.
Come on. Okay. All right. I will give you this. That I thought her performance in Jojo Rabbit was better than her performance in Marriage Story. If you want to subtract her Marriage Story, then that's fine. But she did a very good job in Jojo Rabbit.
I haven't seen Jojo Rabbit. And I want to go on record that I'm a Scarlett Johansson fan. I think she's a great actress. She puts her foot in her mouth constantly, but I don't think that takes away from her talent. I just think that it's like I would never go as far as to say that she's a bad actress, because I don't think that's true at all. But I'm not really cool with anybody being nominated twice in 1 year, let alone like you snubbing 4 people who I thought that should have been in there. But I just feel like out of all the years that the Oscars have like been on, I feel like this is like a year that you could straight up pinpoint so many snubs. And it's interesting that they're all kind of people of color.
Well,
like they're all people of color.
And Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler, a white man of color. I'm kidding. But yeah, I feel like the Adam one is a little more of a complex conversation, because than say everybody else's. I feel like Adam didn't get a nomination solely based on like his career as a whole, more than his performance in the movie. I feel like that conversation a little more. That conversation is a little more complex.
Again, we've pushed this back 2 segments now, but we're gonna get to the Adam Sandler conversation.
I'm so sorry.
I want to talk about Oscar So White just a little bit more, because there was a lot of times in this like award show where they're panning to people and they're cutting to different things, and I'm thinking to myself, and maybe this is just me being like a dumb person, that totally could be the thing, but I really did like, this is the first year that I was looking at it and I was like, I really do feel like we are missing something, and it was, I think, people of color, right? Like, am I wrong?
It was what?
It was people of color. Like, I did not see, outside of Parasite having, the director there and the producers there, and then, of course, when they win Best Picture, everybody gets to go on the stage. But just, like, the camera panning around didn't really give me a lot of, like, woke Hollywood vibes.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of cool to see actors, like, it's kind of cool when you get, like, a Best Actor or a Best Actress that go up on stage and use their time, use their win as a time to like preach diversity. Well, and it's especially cool when you see 2 powerful white people do it. Like this year, you got Joaquin who did it, and I think a couple of years ago, and I'm going back to a couple of years because I don't think last year it's not ringing a bell whether someone did it. So more than likely they didn't. But I remember a couple of years ago, Frances McDormand, when she won Best Actress, she had basically championed that Hollywood start hiring inclusion writers, which is just a person whose job is solely a person's sole job is to just make sure that that the team who works on a movie is as diverse as possible. So basically just to make sure that they get everybody in there from all different backgrounds as they could, like the most qualified people, but to make sure that they're from all different backgrounds, just so everyone has a fair shot. I feel that to take your time, it's important to take your time if you're a white person of privilege to go up on stage and basically try to champion stuff like that. So as much as Oscar So White is a problem, I feel like they definitely are learning slowly but surely. It's a process. It's a 92-year-old institution, and you got to remember you still have a bunch of old white people like still on the team that are still allowed to vote and whatnot.
Maybe by the 100th anniversary of this show, we'll finally get some diversity. I want to move on to supporting actress Laura Dern, who we both loved in Big Little Lies, right? You saw the HBO series.
Yeah.
Okay. I felt like this was them saying, hey, you are such a powerful actress, and everything that you've done in the last, 2 years has been so, monumentous. Like, her scenes in Little Women, Big Little Lies, and then, of course, Marriage Story. She has been such a great actress in all of these deals that this almost felt like a Lifetime Achievement Award instead of a Best Supporting Actress award.
Yeah, it's definitely what they call a career Oscar. It's just an accumulation of all her work. I would go as far as to say that Brad Pitt's the same thing. It feels more like a career Oscar than a you were just amazing in this movie. Because as much as I like Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm not sure. I wouldn't say that's a definitive performance of his career or anything.
No.
I'm not sure if I would have given him a statue for that. But as for his career as a whole, yeah, sure, why not? Another conversation that I'm just going to touch on it and jump away. When you're dealing with a Brad Pitt or a Laura Dern, where basically their wins tonight was just an accumulation of years and years of their work. Do you remember earlier in the year when everybody was like, should Robert Downey Jr. win an Oscar? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about Laura Dern's and Brad Pitt's, I don't know, maybe he should. You know,
wow.
if we're just awarding people, if we're just giving away career Oscars now.
If we're just giving away awards, yeah, no, I agree.
If we're just giving away awards, yeah, why not? But I liked Laura Dern's. I didn't see who else I would have preferred to win, because as much as I like Florence, she's going to get hers in the coming years. We all know that. So I was perfectly fine with Laura getting one.
If Florence wins one before Saoirse, we're gonna have big issues. I do want to touch on Brad Pitt, because we're kind of circling back now, but just keeping the supporting actor and actress awards together. I will say this: I had this take earlier in the year, and I got a lot of pushback for it. I said that I thought Brad Pitt was a better supporting actor than he was a lead man, because I remember him as a better think about Fight Club, where he's not the lead in Fight Club. But you can't think of that movie without him. You know what I mean? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think it's going to be the same way. When I rewatch it, I'm going to remember it for Leo's performance more than I'm going to remember it for Pitt's. But I can't think of that movie without the two. Does that make sense?
It's funny that you would consider his performance in Fight Club supporting, though. Because I would go as far as to say that they're co-leads.
In both cases?
Yeah. Well, not in both cases. I don't think he's a lead in Once Upon a Time. Whereas that is arguable. It is arguable that they are co-leads in that movie. I feel that it's more arguable in Fight Club just because they share so much screen time. Yeah, I feel it. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying it's debatable.
I agree. Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
So that was Laura Dern's first Oscar. Again, kind of feels like a Lifetime Achievement Award. And this is where the Oscars got really wild to me. And you know what I'm about to talk about. They're talking about the best original soundtrack. And they bring on Marshall Mathers, Eminem. It was so I think everybody was confused.
Oh, I loved it, though.
You did?
Loved it.
Tell me why.
Yeah. Okay, so the Academy has a weird relationship with hip-hop. And so to see them give a platform to the first rapper to win an Oscar was pretty cool. And I also thought it was really cool that Eminem was performing the song that he won an Oscar for when he legit did not show up on the night that he won his Oscar because he thought that he wasn't going to win. He decided to not even go. So for him to come back when did 8 Mile come out? 2004.
Something like that.
To come back almost 2 decades later to perform the song that he won for, I thought that was pretty cool. Like, even if it did feel out of place, I thought that it was cool. And everybody seemed to be, like, having a good time, so.
Yeah, well,
And
everybody
it
seemed to have a
definitely,
good time when the cameraman found the people having a good time.
Yeah. And it was definitely, think about all the other songs that were played that night. It was definitely a tonal change that was needed, like, for sure. Because all the other songs were sad.
I guess so, yeah. But here's the other thing, too, that I tweeted about it, and you saw it. He looked fat. Like,
oh, yeah, well, yeah, he's like 50, isn't he?
Yeah, but, like, remember when every rapper was on steroids? What happened to that? Can we get that back? Can we get back?
Eminem has never been a rapper like that's been like super in shape. Eminem was never walking around with his shirt off. So like him being chubby.
There's a Google image search. There's a Google image search that you will have to do after we get done with this podcast, because that is very available for you. There's a lot of photos without him with a shirt off. Bombshell winning for Best Makeup, I thought that was kind of an easy one too. I said that this was one of those Oscars where the tough decisions were really, really, really tough, and the easy ones were layups. Because Bombshell,
yeah, sure.
I think you saw it too, right? Where it was everybody looked exactly like they do in real life, and it was just the movie kind of sucked, but the makeup.
I never
was great.
saw it.
Yeah, well, nobody saw it. I didn't know who the movie was for. Like, I talked to women who, like, I thought would see the movie. They were like, no, why would I watch that movie? I talked to guys who thought, conservative guys. No, they didn't see it either. So I got no idea how it made any money in the box office. I saw the movie. I thought it was okay. I would not put it in my, like, top 15 for the year. But
yeah.
It was fine. One Best Makeup, so that's great. Parasite winning for international film, that was a no-brainer. I think everybody chalked that up. Billie
I'm glad
Eilish's
that they changed the name.
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
I don't feel like there's much to talk about. I'm just happy they changed the name. I feel like it makes the most sense.
So Best Director, Parasite again. Again, that one kind of felt like a no-brainer. I think we both did a little bit of a victory lap that Todd Phillips didn't win. This guy is an asshole. I hate Todd Phillips, so I was happy that he didn't get anything tonight.
Yeah, I don't like him, and I feel like he's in other people's. He took a spot that could have been someone else's. That's
Greta's or Noah's.
Yeah, or the Safdie brothers. Either or, anyone, literally anyone.
The end of this podcast where we talk about Uncut Gems is going to be the best part. Billie Eilish's performance, I was not in love with it. I'm not a Billie Eilish stan. I thought she did. I thought she did fine.
You're talking to the wrong person.
I thought she did fine. Convince me. Well, okay. Here's the other thing too, and this is one of those, like, clearly the Academy, clearly ABC was like, all right, we're gonna pander up to the people who are watching this. We're gonna put Kobe Bryant first, and I get it, but, like, let's be real. Kobe should have been somewhere in the middle when we're talking about some of those legends that we saw.
I disagree.
Okay, explain to me why I'm wrong.
Okay, so it made sense for Kobe Bryant to be the one because not only he won his Oscar last year?
2018.
Okay, well, the reason it makes sense for him to kick off the in memoriam is because he was the big, like, I get what you're saying because he died most recently. That he should have been in the middle, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying, like, I looked at some of those other... Doris Day died. I'm looking at some of these other actresses and actors. I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, it's in L.A. He's the most recent. He probably has the most, like, cultural pulse. But, like...
Exactly. He's Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I get it. I guess. It just doesn't... I don't know. I just didn't feel like... starting off with him and with Billy, it kind of felt like they were like, all right, whatever... 25 and younger cast or audience we have right now, this is for y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I liked Billy's performance. I thought she did great. I think she has a lovely voice. Love her style. Big fan of hers. As far as Kobe Bryant opening the show, it made sense to me. Like you said, they're in LA. Where's the awards show held again? It's definitely not the Staples Center, that's for sure.
Definitely not. They talked about it. It's somewhere else because Tiki was talking about how it was on, like, native land. So
okay.
I don't know, somewhere in California, not in LA.
For sure.
So.
But yeah. So I don't know. It made sense to me. I'm pretty sure Kobe was like good friends with everyone in that room too. So
Let's fight about Best Actor. Joaquin
Yeah,
Phoenix wins Best Actor. Everybody was telling me that this was like a no-brainer. This was a layup. Blah blah blah. Come on. How is it that Leo gets one Oscar and all of a sudden we forget that he's the greatest actor of all time? Like, what's the deal here?
Okay, well, wait. So, are you saying that you think that Leo, like, there was a chance that Leo could have taken it for Once Upon a Time?
I think that he should have.
I disagree because I feel like Leo could have done that movie in his sleep.
I like how Once Upon a Time is kind of almost like a mirror image of what's happening in real life with him and Brad Pitt. How they're both
and also
aging out of that leading man role.
For sure. And Tarantino, it's basically just like, I know how people say it's a love letter to film or whatever the fuck, but it's really just it's more of a love letter to just like the way things used to be, which I feel is very problematic. It's basically just like the whole movie is just about an old man struggling to find where he fits in society now with like all the changes and just it's very white. It's very old white man. It's fine.
And Joker is very young white man.
I never cared about Once Upon a Time. But here's the thing about Joker. Like Joker is like, it's not a completely original story, but it makes sense for me. It makes sense to me for it to be there solely based on the fact that it made so much money, and that it was semi art house, I guess.
Stop it. No, the whole
as it went on, like I hated Joker more than like anybody I feel this year, but it's like, will I go as far as to say that it doesn't deserve to be talked about at all? No, I wouldn't say that. I don't think that he should have been nominated for director. I don't think it deserved 11 nominations, but I do think it deserves like the best picture nomination. I do think it deserved like the best actor. I don't think it was an entirely horrible movie. I think it's going to age better.
You think so? What's the most rewatchable scene for you in that movie?
The most rewatchable scene for me which is it's the best scene in the whole movie, is the scene where he goes on the talk show with Robert De Niro.
That's fair. What was Joaquin Phoenix talking about in his speech? Because I got into like 3 different text chains with different people asking me what in the world is going on. Do you know what was happening with that speech?
During the speech?
Yeah, what was that speech about?
Like, you got in text chains during the speech?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, so his speech, he was basically talking about how everyone in the room, like, they need to use their power and influence and actually help the world instead of just like patting each other on the backs all the time for doing like essentially nothing. He said that everybody in the room, including him, is like very egocentric. And he started talking about how we basically just use and abuse the Earth's resources. He was reading everybody to filth. It was pretty cool. It kind of reminded me of Leo's speech a couple of years ago, but I felt like Leo's speech definitely wasn't reading the room to filth or anything more, as it was just trying to spread awareness. But Joaquin was definitely like telling everyone about themselves. There was one moment where it was just silent. Like me and my roommate, we were at a bar watching, because we don't actually have like basic cable at our house, because all we have is, streaming services. So we have to go to a bar to watch it. And there was like a watch party going on, and the whole room was like silent. The whole room that I was watching was silent, as well as the awards room that Joaquin was in. It like it's like people would cheer every now and then, but there was one section of his speech where it was just you could just hear a pin drop, and it was when he was basically talking about how we just use the Earth's resources and how we take a baby calf from like her mother, and just like it was his speech was like very intense, and then he quoted his brother at the end, you know, River Phoenix, who was a very promising young actor who died. He was Joaquin's older brother, who arguably was a better actor than him. He died at a very young age. From a drug overdose, I think. And Joaquin ended his speech, and he almost started crying. He quoted like some song lyric that his brother had wrote when they were kids. And I don't know. I thought it was a really good speech. I will say, so for the longest time, I did not want Joaquin to win Best Actor because I didn't like the Joker, and I didn't want the Joker to get anything. I didn't want him to win solely based on the fact that I didn't want Joker fans to get the satisfaction of him winning. But he really won me over this award season. All these speeches, I thought they were very great. They were very informed, socially conscious, woke speeches. But I don't know why I'm surprised, because Joaquin Phoenix has always been that type of actor. He's been a very normal guy, quote unquote, actor. Like, he's very approachable. He just seems like he's there more for the work and less for the fame. You know, he's not really a celebrity. I feel.
I guess so. I don't know. The whole milk thing was kind of weird to me. Let's talk about Renee Zellweger, who wins for Judy.
No.
She wins for Judy. I don't know anybody that saw this movie. I saw this movie because I'm a loser and just watched all of these like award movies. But she deserved to win the award. I loved Sir Saoirse. You know, I loved her in Little Women. But I thought that they made the right deal with Renee.
Like, honestly, yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't really speak to it. I like Renee Zellweger, everything I've seen her, and I've liked her. I just feel that it's weird that they gave her an Oscar for playing a woman that they literally robbed every single time that she was nominated. That just doesn't sit well with me. I just don't think it's fair. And even her daughter, Liza Minnelli, said that she straight up has no intention on seeing the movie, because the Academy they were just so cruel to her mother. So I can't. It's bizarre to me that they would give it to this woman that for playing a woman that they basically abused for years.
I love it. All right, so anything else you want to talk about before we talk about the People's Champ, Adam Sandler and Uncut Gems?
We can talk about Jennifer Lopez real quick.
Okay, let's talk about her. What did you like about the Super Bowl performance?
Oh my God! Wait, did you not like it, or you liked it?
Here's the thing about Hustlers. Here's the thing about the Super Bowl performance. It's just like, I think that J-Lo has done so much being in this public spotlight. I don't really care about her that much anymore. Like, Hustlers was fine. She did a really good job. I'm cool with if she just like kind of goes off the radar for a couple years.
Okay, so I've always had like a problem with J-Lo, but we don't have to touch on that because it's just acting. I'm talking about acting today. Excuse me. J-Lo's never been an actress to me. I have never defined J-Lo as an actress. I've never defined her as a singer. I've never defined her as anything other than a celebrity, because that's what she is to me. She's a good dancer. She has appeared in some movies. She has appeared on some song tracks. After seeing her in Hustlers, I will say that I tried to watch that movie twice. I was only successful the second time, because the first time I tried to watch it, I was about 6 minutes into the movie, and there was a line where J-Lo has just gotten off the stage performing at the strip club. she's walking away with a bunch of money, and she walks by Constance Wu's character, who is she's the lead in the movie, and she asks her, "Doesn't money make you horny?" And I don't know, her line delivery of that badly written line, I immediately turned the movie off, and I didn't go back to it for months. Well, I watched it probably like 3 days ago, and I can confirm with Stan Twitter that Jennifer Lopez was definitely robbed of a nomination, at least for Hustlers. I feel like, and if I'm being honest with you, I feel like her nomination, Kathy Bates stole her nomination. Because I had brought up the Jojo Rabbit thing. I brought up the Scarlett Johansson thing about how it was kind of weird that she had 2 Oscar nominations. But I would be fine with her having both of those if they actually took away Kathy Bates' nomination, because I saw that movie and I don't think that Kathy Bates deserves the nomination for it.
Let me put something in here. Kathy Bates, incredible actress, incredible career. Richard Jewell was one of the worst movies I saw last year. Like, it is not good. And to me, this is where the problem lies. It's a Clint Eastwood production and directed film.
He's a bad director.
He's not a good director. And I think that Angelina Jolie with Unbroken, what she did with that movie, I think needs to have everybody thinking forever and always. Like, it's not hard to make war movies like this. Like, it's not difficult to take source material and make it, like, really good if you're like an okay director. American Sniper, if we're being completely honest, very average film.
Yeah.
So, Richard Jewell was a terrible movie. I hated that movie. But Kathy Bates is one of the best actresses probably of the last, like, 30 years. You know, another one of those, like, okay, we know who you are, you're in the club. So, wasn't in love with it.
Okay, so yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We can it's whatever.
All right,
we can go
Sandler.
on to we can go on to Adam now.
Adam Sandler, the People's Champion, one of the funniest 100 people ever. I think he's on that list.
Yeah.
Spirit Awards on Saturday night. He has a really good speech. Makes fun of the Academy. Makes fun of how, like, the critics hate me. Everybody hates me. The Stafford brothers made a great movie, and because I was the lead, they didn't get it nominated. I 100% agree. I will go to my grave thinking that Uncut Gems deserved every one of the Oscars that Joker got nominated for.
I agree. Uncut Gems is one of those movies that is going to age incredibly well. It's going to be a movie that is studied in film classes, screenplay classes. I feel more screenplay classes than film production classes. But they rewrote that movie 115 times, so the fact that it didn't even get like a screenplay nomination is insane to me. Fun fact, my favorite fun fact about that movie, I'm going to actually send you a link to a podcast that I listened to the other day with the Safdie brothers. I think you would really enjoy, where they were talking about the process of making this movie. Do you know how many basketball players they went through before they landed on Kevin Garnett?
How many?
It was like a ridiculous number, but at one point, Kobe Bryant was attached to the movie, which I think me and my roommate were talking about this the other day. It's kind of crazy because if Kobe Bryant would have been in this movie, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of like a conspiracy, but whatever. If Kobe Bryant would have been in this movie, he, a lot of things would have, like, changed. Like, he basically would have been, the movie probably, he would have definitely been nominated solely based on the fact that it was Kobe Bryant in a movie, and he had already won an Oscar. So they totally would have, like, nominated him for something just based on that. His time would have been busy with press tours, and he basically would have, his whole schedule would have been completely different. So the events that ended up taking his life would have probably never taken place. But anyways, the fact that the Safdie brothers were not nominated for a movie that they basically had been working on for over a decade, because they had written this movie 10 years ago, and with Adam Sandler in mind, and he kept turning them down because they were essentially nobodies. The fact that they had had their like nose to the brimstone for like a decade and created a wonderful piece of art a wonderful piece of timeless art. That's essentially a period piece, because don't forget it takes place in 2010. So it is a period piece. For that to be like completely ignored, and Adam Sandler's giving the best performance of his career, for y'all to completely ignore that based solely on the principle that y'all don't like to nominate people who have made bad movies, that's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, just because I made 50 First Dates doesn't mean I can't make one of the greatest films of the last 10 years.
But it's not just Adam, though. They've done this to multiple actors. They'll basically deny them an Oscar or even a nomination solely because they've made crap. That's
you know
why
who that's going to happen to next? You know who that's going to happen to next? Michael B. Jordan. If if he's not careful,
Michael B. Jordan, it's going to happen to him. It may end up. She's not in crap, but I was thinking about this the other day, solely based on the fact that she's kind of like just like a really sexy, stylish it girl. I don't think Zendaya's ever going to get one either. They don't really. It's like they don't like people who make strides on their own accord. Like Adam Sandler's, he's famous just for being like, you know, a super funny comedian. Like, and he basically fell into acting. Like he fell into being a good actor. You know, it's not like he went to Juilliard or Yale or something. He's not a Tom. He's not a Meryl. He's Adam Sandler. I don't. Zendaya, she's like a stylish, but anyway, I feel like you get what I'm coming from. They like to award people who they like to award industry people who are very familiar with the industry, people who they fit the mold of what a movie star is usually like. That's who they like to award. But yeah, that's why people like Eddie Murphy don't have one. If you've made like a bad movie or like a series of bad movies, they're not going to try to give you anything. Even if you've cranked out performances that were like the best of the year.
Matthew McConaughey got lucky.
Matthew McConaughey got lucky. Very lucky. And to be honest, I don't think that he's actually like I don't think that he's kept that going.
No.
I feel like, I don't think he's kept that going at all.
I could talk to you all night about this type of stuff, but I got to let you go before we hit the hour mark. Give me the biggest winner and the biggest loser of tonight.
The biggest loser was definitely Scorsese, because Irishman walked away with nothing.
I think they won a couple, but like for production stuff.
Really?
They might have won none. You might be right.
Yeah, I feel like they got nothing. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna say Martin. Greta too. Greta, I would also say she was the biggest loser of the night as well. Is Greta ever gonna get anything? Anyways, whatever. Okay.
Damn.
And I would say the biggest winner is, because come on, two times she's been snubbed, but the biggest winner of the night is Parasite, for sure. And Parasite fans like me and you, we won tonight. We won.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, bro.
Thank you so much, Justus, for coming on with us.
All right, for sure. You have a great night, bro.
Thank you again to Justus for coming on with us. Parasite winning 4 Academy Awards. Outstanding. I have to give Jojo Rabbit, though, its props. My mom and I were texting during the award show. That was her favorite movie of the year. She loved just the entire story around it. So having that win the best adaptation for screenplay, I thought that was really cool. Richard Jewell stunk. I want to throw this in here right before we end this podcast. If you haven't seen Just Mercy yet, go see it. And here's why. It's not good. And I need people to agree with me on this. I need you to go see the movie and to understand why it's not good. I'm going to tell you my thoughts before you see it. Michael B. Jordan needs to be the strongest actor in that movie, and he's not. And we mentioned a little bit earlier with Justice, how I thought that if he's not careful, he's going to get blackballed from these awards because he's not making great movies. That is a movie that when you go back and watch it, you're going to think to yourself, I wish he was just a little bit better. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast. You can read my Oscar review on the University Star website. That's going to come up later this week. I'm thinking probably like Wednesday this week. It's going to be in print on Tuesday if you live in the area, so go pick up a copy if you can. Thank you again to Justice. Thank you for checking it out. Remember to remind each other how much you mean to each other while we have this time. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.